public because it actually went for 2 hours. I was hoping to make it half an hour, and also I touched on some subjects that, I don't know, sometimes I think about the topics if they involve. There was only one sentence in the whole 2 hour thing that I'd like to take out. And when I learn how to edit, then anyways, for the moment, I'm just going to leave it private. But basically, I've been cathartically crying for about 3 days now. It might have even been longer. I've lost track. No, it's not the whole. Basically, I've been really lucky because I think it's been a week, but I've had breaks because I've had what you call distractions. And I understand why some people love distracting from their pain because it's this easy. I always feel, even if there is the distraction there, but what actually happened was I had a guest Friday and Saturday at my house, and went to the markets, and we went to karaoke. We had a really fun night at karaoke. We had a night of dancing and singing, and so fun. And then we did the York markets, and last Saturday I did the Northern markets. And then Sunday I had church, and then a barbecue with my friend who comes up from Perth, and then I went out to this Nan's property to collect a heap of firewood. So I could feel these feelings there, but it wasn't unless I was alone that they sort of got bigger, which is what happens when we're alone. Our feelings do have a chance to show themselves in a more authentic manner. At church, I showed my authentic feelings to some ladies there at the end of the church sermon when they asked me how I was. The tears just came out really quickly. And also doing the barbecue on Sunday with a really good friend. There was this conversation where I was just crying. Heaps of, we were talking about something that just, so it's not like I was hiding my pain from everyone, but just being appropriate with when I let it show. And this morning, I didn't really expect this to happen, but this morning, I just felt I didn't feel depressed or anything. I just didn't feel motivated. I just didn't know what to do. So, and what I said in my previous live, I don't repeat too much in this one, just in case I do turn the other one to public. But basically, I just thought, no, I'm going to make this a restoration day, because I thought, well, I'm on my ladies' time. I've been working really hard, physically really hard for money. Like I garden and landscape and clean at the moment for money, and it's all very hard on the body. Plus, I do op shop duty on Fridays, which is very hard on the body because lots of carrying of heavy clothes, moving clothes around, constant moving. So, and I've got a big day tomorrow. It's an emotional day tomorrow. I've got this wonderful court counselling session tomorrow. I've got a case manager that I'm be working with for 9 months, so we can come up with a really amazing treatment plan, care plan for myself to address a lot of my issues that have never been properly addressed because I just haven't been able to find the right support services or someone consistent. This is like 9 months. It's completely consistent. So I also did a 2 hour, so that's going to be very emotional because that involves them wanting to know as much as I'm prepared to share. And the more I share, the more they can help me of all of the psychological damage that's within my being, within my brain and my body. And I know that God created this, you see. I know that God created this court counselling for me. I asked for it. But I know that God created it's one of the most godly outcomes that came from a very dastardly, relatively evil situation. And I saw that as God providing. So I'm very happy about that and feel very blessed. So that's emotional. Last fortnight when I saw this lady Kelly, I was drained. I was so drained afterwards. So I may be drained tomorrow. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm just so emotionally, this process of healing, everyone, like I may or may not post that previous post, but there was a lot discussed in that. And it's obviously been a trigger for how I'm feeling now as well, because I was doing a day of restoration today, because it's one day where I didn't have a set time to be at a set place. So I thought I'll let my body rest. I was in bed until like 12 o'clock. I got up, fed the dogs, checked the fire, and made myself a coffee. But apart from that, I was just in bed. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a YouTube live, because I haven't done one since last Sunday. And the topic went quite deep, starting with this restoration process. This particular topic, this heartbreak to heartache to healing repeat, I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time because I was feeling like someone asked me the other day, how are you? And I went, I feel like I've traversed heartbreak and I'm now in heartache. It's so exciting. I feel like I'm on the other end of it. And then I've lost track. I'm not writing. I need to be writing things down. But I basically have done another spiral layer. I've gone into another layer. I've gone into another layer of healing. It's so deep. And apparently, on an astrological level, there's a lot of DNA light activation happening for those who are in touch with their high frequency when they're like their bodies alchemize which I have. When we alchemize and transcend our cellular being to a higher vibration, we then align with higher frequencies more often. And some of these higher frequencies come with quite powerful energies, quite powerful stimulation, and they come with this thing called an activation code, which can reignite some hidden memories within our DNA coding. So that could be happening. It's my women's time, and it's a heavy one. And also I'm premenopausal, so I've got the hormones of premenopausal, the hormones of menstruating right now. I've got the fatigue of working my body really hard. I've potentially got DNA activation code. And everyone, my big trigger today, which just kept breaking me, and I was like, I can't let this break me. I will and won't let this break me. I will not let this break me. So small things, guys, but they're big. I went to take the dogs for the walk today and the car wouldn't start. It really freaked me out. I was like, I really need this car to work, and I need it for work. I need it for life. I don't have the money to fix it at the moment. And I just did a little prayer. Oh, God, I'm not sure why the car won't work. It was acting like it had no battery power. The lights aren't on. I don't understand. It's not that the battery's flat. The battery can't be flat because nothing's left to absorb the battery power. Checked it was in park, pulled it out of park because it's an automatic, and then put it back into park wouldn't start. And then I'm like, oh, this is really scary. All right, well, I guess I'm just going to take the dogs for a walk down the local park. And that's nowhere near as fun because, I have to be mindful of other dogs coming. It's a smaller space. There's 2 gates that people don't shut properly. It's just a lot more stressful. People come there. It's really frequented by families. And the river's so beautiful. I just get to run along. The dogs have so much fun on the river. It's so much more enjoyable for all of us. They get proper exercise. And anyways, I'm there. I'm going, please, God, please. Why is the car not working? Please, I really need the car to work. And I've tried it again and it spluttered. I went, thank you. And I went, please, God, please. I know this car needs a service and I've got money coming next week. I've got 2 big jobs coming up this week. So I'm going to make sure I get the car booked in for a service. So please, God, please, 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 please. I really just want to go for a walk along the river and take the dogs for a big walk and And then I turned the ignition on again and the car started. I was like, thank you, God. Thank you so much. So I didn't go into too much stress initially, but still leaves a residue. And then I noticed that the car's on empty. And then I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to get to work on Wednesday because I don't even have any money until I get paid on Wednesday from the dude. So it's like, but from memory, oh, I remember now. From memory, I don't have to go too far. From memory, it's a job in Northern. So I'll have probably just enough petrol to get to work on Wednesday, okay? But that really wore me out. And then, of course, I went for a walk along the river with the dogs. And usually, everyone, when I'm walking along the river with the dogs, I just feel so in tune with God and so nurtured by nature and so safe and broke. I broke. I was crying like I could barely see where I was going. There was so many tears I couldn't see through my eyeballs, and my body was wanting to collapse on the ground. And I'm thinking, is this like because of last year? Because this time last year was a horrendous time for me. I have all these Facebook lives. It was a really dark, really dark. Can I say dark? How many times more? It was, it was really, it's what shattered me to the core of my being and crowd for me to surrender to God because I literally had nothing in life. Literally, it was one of the hardest, most challenging, most cruelest, most harshest times I've ever gone through. One of, I have had a few more that are similar, but this was really up there. And yeah, this time last year, I was so suicidal, and like minute by minute, hour by hour type thing. And that's what I'm not that at all now. I'm nowhere near that now. This grief that I'm feeling is really deep, but it's nothing like last year. So it made me think about the spirals, the layers. So if we measure by time, so this time last year, I was in the depths of like I was at high risk, at major high risk. And this year, I'm just tired. But between that time last year and now, I've had so much joy, so much triumph, so many successes. I've had so many times of peace. And I keep thinking that's going to stay. And then I had this another layer of agony. And something I shared in a few of my posts now, a few of my YouTube posts, what I've shared is that one foot in the foot of agony, one foot in the foot of joy is the way of the child of God. And I've been learning all these articles about the life as a surrendered child of God. It is a life just not an easy life, not a comforting life, not one of the comforts is the devil land. And I'm trying to get my head around this. I've actually reached out to a lot of people and given them a message saying, I'm really sad I can't stop crying. And one of the things that I'm finding the most hardest to accept is that surely there is a time when our layers of dealing with pain stop, or surely the challenge of being a child of God doesn't have to involve deep trauma. It gets to a point where there's not deep trauma there. And I know that's true because I've seen senior godly people who maybe they do have these layers and I don't know about it. I don't know. I want to start talking to some more elderly Christian people My neighbour just sent me a message saying she's coming over at 5. What's the time? That's in 15 minutes. My beautiful neighbour is coming over in 15 minutes because I really need so reach out for your loving support when we are this traumatized, because God does not want us in isolation. When our trauma is impacting us this much and all these different layers, when we surrender to God in this process of healing, if we stay in our light, when we stay in our light, when we stay in our faith with God, then we're really healing it on a really deep cellular level, on a light, high frequency level. We're not going into that space of being a victim, being isolated, feeling like we're unworthy, feeling like we're alone, feeling like life's too hard. Like those feelings, they are of the devil. And whatever it is that's happening to me, it is healing. It has to be, because I'm such a surrendered child of God, and whatever's coming up, it must be something that needs to come out. And I do believe my previous YouTube triggered me, because, and maybe I will post it because it'll give you a reflection for this one. But I've had to come through a lot of understandings. And after my neighbour comes over and we do some more talk, I'll tell her some of the feelings that are coming up, some of the thought processes that are coming up for me and what they're in relation to, and I'll get her viewpoint. She's such an amazing woman. But things like, as well, the third thing that happened when I came home from walking the dogs, I went to chainsaw my wood up because I got a lot of wood yesterday, and I have to chainsaw it up, and my chainsaw won't work. So I've got just enough wood to get me through to maybe 2 or 6 a.m. 5 pieces of wood left. And we're in winter right now. Like, I'm inside the house with a woolen jumper on over top of a long sleeve shirt and a scarf, socks and Ugg boots, and I've got the fire on. And the fire's been on every day and every night for the last week. It gets put on slow burn, so one log lasts for 6 hours throughout the night, and then you can turn it up a bit higher for, say, between, when you make it, like right now I should have it up higher because it would put more heat in the house. But I'm so mindful I've only got 4 pieces of wood over there to last me until I can get the chainsaw fixed. I don't know how, everyone, like, and this is what I don't understand as well. Like, my friend will help me work it out when she comes over, my beautiful neighbor. But when you have many things happen in a row, like today, with the car not starting, the chainsaw not working, and when it's things like mobility, transportation, like survival stuff, survival of being able to drive around, warmth, keeping the fire going, because this house drops in temperature. That fire goes out, this house drops in temperature within an hour, and it's freezing. It's an ice block. So that fire is so crucial. In all honesty, with that load of wood that I got yesterday, there are some bits that will fit in the fire without me chainsawing them up. But what I don't understand is why the chainsaw isn't working. Why the car is not starting all the time. Like, what is there? I try not to over analyze things. I'm very highly analytical. Like, what's the message? And then I definitely don't want to see it as devil's attack, that's for sure. Can't bear any more devil's attacks. And I don't believe, I know the devil has no jurisdiction over me because I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. So I already know it's not devil's attack. So I'm like, well, God, what is the message? What is it that I need to learn in this situation? It is definitely triggering me for survival. Like, everything for bare basic survival right now is really challenging. Like, the like everything to do with survival right now. Well, not everything, because there are countries where, see, if you can turn a tap on, you can get water coming out of a tap. you're 1% of the richest people in the world. So I can turn taps on and have water come out. And I was running out of wood, and then I found out that I've now got access to this farm where I can collect wood. But it's far away. I came back and I'm on empty. It's not too far, but it's far enough. It's an hour's drive. But it's a really big block of land. It's 100 acres, and there's big trees down everywhere, and they've been down for a long time, so they're dried out. So I can go there to cut wood up whenever I need. So that's a blessing. And yeah, just I guess when the bare basics are a challenge, like keeping warmth, fire. I remember this time last year, fire and warmth was a big deal as well. It was massive. This time last year, I was doing a lot to try to keep the house warm. It was not easy. So is it that? Is it just, do we get shotted down? Do we get knocked out a little bit easier? Well, as I said, the hormones are being premenopausal, plus currently menstruating, so that's two whammies of hormones there, or lack of hormones, lack of estrogen with the blah blah blah. We all know about hormone changes of women is just incredible. Hardship of winter. Winter is much harder, in my opinion, than summer. Summer's still hard though, because seriously, I had to do a lot of work on the retic in summer to keep the garden alive, and I still need to do a lot more. I'm going to be very mindful of water usage. So, and if you don't have somewhere to get shade in summer up here, you're not okay. If you don't have a good water system or good mulch, or but winter is harsher because in summer at least you can find shade. I mean, we're a rural country town. Seriously, there's air conditioning in some of those shops. I don't want to talk about that too much. That's not the point. The point is the layers of healing, and what's triggering us to go to that deeper level. Like, what's the trigger? Just got to be mindful of time. 10 minutes. Why are there times I was really on from heartbreak to heartache? Like, when people ask me how I was literally going, oh yeah, I've transcended the heartbreak. My heart's not broken. It doesn't feel broken. I must be in the heartache stage now. I can feel pain, but my heart doesn't feel broken. And I'm feeling like I feel like I'm at the other end of a really arduous marathon. And then boof, I'm into this really deep heartbreak again. Like, and it doesn't feel less painful than the last one. The only thing that feels different about it is my determination to know that devil has no jurisdiction over me. So my thoughts won't go too dark or too and as soon as I feel myself just not being able to stop crying like this, I know. I got told the other day that devil creates isolation. Devil wants us to be in isolation. The devil wants us to be scared and alone and sad, in isolation, feeling like no one's there for us. So I just went, right, this is next level. It's almost dark. It's almost night time. I've been crying for most of the day, most of last night, a lot of yesterday, on and off, just drop of a hat for the last week. This is not just hormonal. There is a real layer, a very, very deep layer of trauma that needs to be healed right now. Something is coming up that I need to nurture. And so I just immediately contacted some trusted people, and my neighbour's actually turning up in 5 minutes. So we will have a very, 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 she's been at work all day. So we will have a And I just asked for a quick chat, but she says I'll come over, so that's even better. So we'll have a, a bit of an unpack, a bit of a godly unpack of where or how I can get through this night. And I've got my beautiful court counselling tomorrow with my beautiful case manager, and we go really deep. But it's also very challenging because God's asking me to trust her, to tell her everything. So I'm telling her everything because I have her for 9 months. I'm going to be able to do a lot of unpacking with her. So I'll be able to do a lot of healing. She's just going to help me find other services, but she's my consistent contact. So I'm really looking forward to dealing with where the core, the deepest of the corest wounds that I have within me, which I believe are to do with survival, actually, because I've always had to be the one that protects everyone, that keeps everyone alive, that has to keep coming up with solutions. I've never been able to just fall back and rest and have someone look after me, or it's such a sadness in me that like when the chainsaw wouldn't work, I went, you got to be kidding me! I just need some firewood I've got a ute load of wood now. I just need to be able to cut it up. Why? Why won't the chainsaw work? It's like I don't understand. It's it's got like it's not engaging. The teeth aren't engaging into the wood. They're not chonking into the wood. They're sliding off it and bouncing up. I don't understand. And so much of my life is like that. Most things are way too hard. Like being in this rural block, in an old house, there's a lot here that's outside my skill set. There's a lot that's outside of what I can do. There's a lot that I can't do, and I hate saying can't. And there's not that many people I can ask to help me out just yet. I'm getting there slowly. I've got to take my time because I've only been here for 17 months. I've still got to work out who I can really ask for help. And God's been amazing because He has provided me I've got a beautiful Christian man helping me work on the bathroom just every now and again because he's also working on his own house, so he doesn't have heaps of time. But I've got to come up with money to buy the water sealant. We can't have showers at the moment because I need to afford the water sealant, which is really expensive. But wouldn't petrol come first, or wouldn't dog food come first? Of course. And now it looks like I've got to get the chainsaw looked at or get the car serviced. So it's like, how much? Like, doesn't matter because I have baths. Can have baths, so it's not like I can't get clean. What's the point and everything? So I don't like to complain. I definitely don't like to complain, but this house has been really hard from the very beginning, and it's like I felt like God felt. I remember the process. I shared this with you all in a previous live. Like both my husband and I, when we first turned up here, it felt like home. When we talked about it, when we walked out, it just felt like we were home. Northern feels like home. This town, this house, it was like we were drawn here. It's like it's home. And it is home, but gee, it's been a challenge. Everything about listening to God's calling has been a challenge. And is this not what others of you who surrender to God feel? Like I know I'm not being under devil's attack now, and I've shared many of my lives before. I also now realize a lot of what I perceived to be devil's attack earlier, like the June, July, April. Hang on, the April, May, June period last year, like when everything got really horrifying. April, May, June last year, which then led to the July August scenario, which was just like, so let's just say March to, anyways, for 6 months of last year, and then again another 6 months of this year, and there's so much growth. Like, everything about it has been godly growth. So I share this with so many people all the time. Everything that's happened since saying yes to taking that leap of faith, everything that's happened to me since I took that leap of faith and married the man that God was telling me to marry, and moved to this country town that felt like God was telling us to move here, move into this house that felt like God was telling us to move here, got the animals that felt like God was directing us. I know that's all of God. None of that is the devil. That's all God. So how can I doubt the challenges that have occurred because of that? How can I doubt the lessons that have come about from surrendering to God's will? And I know many of us are in this situation because it's been really hard, excruciating. It's been torturous. It's been like humbled and shattered to the core of 3D earthly human being. But that's exactly what God needed from us. That's what God needs, for us to be so humbled, so broken, that we surrender the worldly ways. We surrender the fear-based, demonic, doubt-based, limiting ways. That's why I can't fall into fear with the car not working and the chainsaw not working, and just cannot and will not fall into fear, will not fall into worry, because that is of the devil. And I'm moving beyond that. I'm healing through all of that, everyone. So hopefully you all are, these layers, this, when something happens now that shatters me, I very quickly go, God, help me, thank you. I don't say help me because I know God's already helped me. I say, God, thank you, I love you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your care and your kindness and your protection. And if I start to feel that my brain's going, this is too hard, this is too hard, this is too hard, I can't cope, getting Adina, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. God's going to provide. And but what I don't understand, my neighbour's about to turn up any minute. What I don't understand is, no one at the church does. We can't answer this. God's timing, God's divine timing, and with the surrendering and the learnings that we go as children of God, like, they're not easy journeys. Not for a lot of us, they're not easy journeys. So we can't cling on to that it's going to be a comforting peace. That we're at peace because we're at peace with God and we're at peace with our journey. But there's that sense of contentment, or that sort of, but that comfort zone is not where God wants us to be. God wants us to be challenged and moving forward and stepping out of our camp, and moving into the promised land and facing the mythical giants that are not there, that got, God wants us to be brave at all times, and to, God also of course wants us to restore. So of course we get our downtime, like I did today. But my downtime today, everyone, has led me to feeling like this, because it's when I'm in that restoration process that I realize how tired my body is, how tired my mind is, how I need that restoration time to keep on going. And then a part of me goes, for what? Like, what is it all for? And then I have to go, I'm not going to slip into doubt. But I do. I can't help it. I'm an infallible, sinful human. Like, I just, like, God, I want to see some clarification. I want to see some legit, valid sort of justification for all this hardship and challenges and excruciating trauma. And I just I just want an end to the grief and to the tragedy of it all and the pain of it all. Like I want to laugh more like I used to. And I want to jump and skip more playfully like I used to. I remember this time 2 years ago, July 2021, I was in heaven. My fiance and I were in heaven. We were traveling around our camper van looking at, actually it was July the 19th that we put an offer on this house. So by this stage we'd already seen this house. So it was more the March, April, May, June time that we were doing a lot of traveling around. We're having all these explorations and we were just having so much fun. It was so lovely. And we're really excited about when we're going to be doing this traveling in our van, and there's all these beautiful dreams. And we decided when every house we looked at, every property we looked at was like, do we want to be a lock and leave? Do we want to be something that we could just leave to go? Like, what do we want to do? We want to settle the land to become semi-self-sufficient and get our big dogs and blah blah, or do we want to do more traveling and just do lots of traveling, just have the land as our base to come back to? It was a lot of decisions to make. So we're looking at vacant land, we're looking at really run down old places, we're looking at sheds on blocks of land, we're looking at really nice houses that had not much yard at all. We looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties. We've been looking at properties for years anyways, but really we were really looking ardently because at this point, the money was there, so we could get, well, the money wasn't there, it had to sell. We didn't have money in the bank. We had to sell a property to buy this property. But when we used to look 4 years ago, neither of us even had the money at all. We didn't have the loan or anything, like it was just really like in the future when my beloved's inheritance was coming in, I was helping him find a place for him. He was asking me to help me drive around him. Like, yeah, no worries, I'm really happy to. And in those discussions, he was saying, trying to fit me in at some points, and I'm saying, okay, well, what I need is a therapy space. What I need, so we every now and again we did the even though we were looking for him, he would still bring me in enough that I got to dream with him. But then all of a sudden we're a couple, we're a committed couple, and we're looking for properties as a couple for us. And then it really was the dream, and it was divine. And this time last year we'd already found this house in Northam that we decided we're going to get, and it was on the 19th of July that we actually did the offer, the acceptance. And then that's when the pressure really hit, because we actually shouldn't have, in many ways we shouldn't have, because there was too many things that needed to be done on the previous house to get it, the photos taken for it to be sold. And we shouldn't have put an offer on this place when we did, because the other place wasn't ready to go on the market. And that's when I became a cripple. I was working really long hours until 11 o'clock at night in winter, in the rain, to get all these things finished that were going to take me a year. We started all these projects that were going to take me a year, and all of a sudden I'm trying to get them finished in a month, and I became a cripple. I crippleized myself. So that was not probably a wise decision. That was one not wise decision, but we really didn't want to lose it. So where we came from a place of fear, I don't know, everyone. Or were we listening to God? I don't know. It's hard. Well, you think the amount of pressure this house has put on both my husband and I, like if we hadn't have bought this house, let's think about it this way, if we hadn't gotten married, if we just stayed engaged for longer to give him more time to work stuff out with his family, like he needed to work stuff out with his family. He needed to learn how to be comfortable to be his true self around them, or to really step up and honor me as wife around them, one or the other or both. But he needed confidence to be his true, authentic being around these people. So I still don't know with those decisions. I don't go on reflecting on, because you can't you can't actually change what you've done in the past. So there's no point in ruminating, right? And my counselor said to me, the beautiful Christian counselor who the church was paying for half of her, I paid for half, and they paid for half, so I got to see her for quite a few months. She's birth of origin trauma informed, and she's also they're marriage counselors, but they're also birth of origin. Wonderful for my beautiful husband to actually do some work with them, because birth of origin trauma is his the main reason the main reason the main reason why this July and last July have been excruciating. Because the July before, he wasn't even in contact with his family. Because they were like, they knew he was in his little suburban little house, and they knew he was doing his little. They didn't know that he and I were going to get married at that point. I don't think they knew. No, I think they did. They did actually. They did. Sorry, they knew from the Christmas before, but they just weren't in contact. So we were. But they were a bit. As in, his brother was sending him lots of text messages about me being a narcissist. So yes, they were, but it was just different. They weren't into. Well, maybe they were interfering more than I realised. I don't know. But anyways, he wasn't letting it bug him. Whereas after we moved up here, he really let their interference really, create a lot of poison in his brain. And by that stage, what do you say? Well, we're already here. We're already living here. We've already moved up. Come on, let's move on. Let's move on rather than let poison energy, cause confusion and murkiness, and let's make this dream real. Like, we're finally doing it. Let's make it real. Woohoo! I was so happy, so excited. And I think overall there was many moments where we both, that excitement never died, that absolute joy of what we wanted to create, what we could create, that's always been there. And that then they've got this more and more underlying energy of, hang on, I took on too much of the burden, which is not a feminine thing to do. He went to more and more withdrawal mode, and also more and more, I can't do this, I'm useless, and started listening to those, the macabre Maggotville people that, he let get in there, So basically, and they're not really macabre Maggotville people. They're just very traumatized little beings that would rather be maggots than beautiful, beautiful beings. They could all be so exquisite. They could all be amazing. Their essence is all potentially amazing, but they all choose to stay really small, in a really yucky way, in a cesspitty sort of maggoty way. So, maggot mentality. It's like, it's really, it's heartbreaking. Me, I wish that I had more insight to the destruction and the damage that mentality can have on people that aren't strong enough in their own independence or their own personality. What I have learned about myself is I know who I am. I know my personality, and I've come to realize a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know themselves. And as I've shared with you in a lot of my previous YouTube lives, and I think people who have grown up with really dominating, very bullyish, narcissistic, controlling type family dynamics, they don't get to experience developing their personalities or their individualities, or they don't get a safe space to make mistakes. And what I've come to realize with myself and my beautiful neighbor who's about to come over, she's the one that helped me realize it, because she and I, out of nearly everyone I know, have a similar mentality towards life, which is very different to a lot of people who I've been meeting. And she and I both have a strong sense of who we are. And neither of us grew up with narcissistic families. So we got to make mistakes. I had a huge amount of responsibility. So I was thrust into the world of come up with solutions, come up with resolutions, come up with, it's a do or die type situation. Like, I had to keep my family alive, basically, like keep them alive. Like, this is huge. I was responsible for making sure they were fed and warm, and way too much for a little child. My neighbour, on the other hand, didn't her experiences weren't as extreme as mine. She grew up with really loving upbringing where they were giving freedom to explore and make healthy mistakes, but she didn't have the trauma that I have. So she and I have this really amazing relationship, whereas we really understand that sense of boundaries, clear boundaries, which is ironic because have you heard me talk about how I struggle with learning my self-esteem boundaries? And this is where the whole topic of self-healing always has these crossovers. I've come to realize there's all these different layers of crossovers. So I know my individuality and my personality in a way that I've seen many other not know. Like I've been meeting a lot of people in the last long while who whiffle waffle around and they give their power away very easily to I'm not going to go down that topic right now because my neighbour's about to turn up, but it's a very interesting one. I've had good boundaries around certain people. Like I've had good boundaries overall, but there's certain people that I've had lose my boundaries with really quickly, and that's something that I've had to look at. Why and I'm having to really identify why is it, and I identified, was it yesterday or the day before, that I would bend over backwards to please the ones who I didn't want to lose. So for example, my husband, I did not want to lose my husband, so I allowed really dysfunctional dynamics to be a part of our relationship for years because I wanted the anything like a bit of breadcrumb here, that hour there, that 2 hours there, oh, that 3 days there. Oh, we got an overnight. Woohoo, our first overnight. Yeehaw, milestone, oh, our first meal we cooked. Woohoo. And that's why I was sharing with you in my earlier YouTube that I may or may not make public. That is actually the twin flame dynamic. But what I was saying to you as well, be mindful, it can be trauma bond or twin flame. And I'm not going to go into that with you now, but be very mindful. If it is a trauma bond dynamic, which I've had plenty of people try to tell me it was, and so I did a lot of research into the trauma bond dynamic, and then God guided me to the twin flame dynamic and the biblical story around God separates for protection, for preparation, for the people to go deep into their shadow work, to get fully broken, to come back together in God's grace, to then be the Trinity of God. And that ties in with the twin flame journey. So that's when I started doing more and more research into the twin flame journey, but which I was already aware of many, many years ago anyways, but I was more aware of the romanticized version of twin flame journey back then, which some of it resonated, but some went, not sure. A bit new agey, rah. But basically my counselor, Rachel, said a decision made in the light is not to be one doubted in the dark. Rachel, the beautiful birth of origin, her and her husband are a co-counseling team, and they do birth of origin healing and Christian marriage healing. And all good Christian relationships have good Christian counseling because it takes a Christian tribe, and it takes putting God first for marriage to survive, because humans alone aren't not capable. We're not capable. We just don't have the capability. We get too caught up in like what I started this YouTube with. The trauma's impacting us too much. The 3D reaction, like when the chainsaw, I tried to chop some wood up, finally got a ute load of wood, and half of it I need to chainsaw, and my chainsaw won't work. And I'm like, well, it worked last time I used it, so I put the oil in it, the bar oil in it, so it's not like I haven't done what needs to be done. It's working, it's just not cutting into the wood. Maybe because the chainsaw is too little and it's Jarrah, maybe the chainsaw blade's too little. Maybe it's as simple as that. And that would be a good outcome, actually, because it's just the cutest little chainsaw. Anyways, everyone, I'm tired. Those cycles of heartbreak, heartache, heartfullness. That's what's sharing with you. Heartbreak to heartache to heartfullness. That heartfullness is euphoric. And I keep thinking, want to stay here. Yeah, this is where I want to stay. Woohoo! Thanks, God. I did it. We got there. Yeehaw. And then, boof. It's like almost left field out of nowhere, like poof, another doof into this deepest of heartbreak again. I'm like, whoa, I thought I'd healed the heartbreak. I thought I'd moved on from the heartbreak. And I was like, okay, but God, this time we're at a different spiral. So the spiral. Do you remember I told you a really long time ago about the spiral? So in the beginning, this is my analogy. I'm going to draw it in my book and in my curriculums and everything. So we've got this really big spiral. It starts off really big and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and poof, pinpoint. The really big spiral, we might have one trigger, one night of the soul, one, heartbreak moment, maybe once a year. And as I shared with you all before, that could be around Christmas time when you're triggered by a certain family. So you might see them once a year at Christmas time. Pardon me. So that once a year, you might have that poof, dark moment. But because it's just once a year, it's pretty superficial. It's pretty light. You might feel a bit uncomfortable. You might drink a few more drinks to try to cover up rah. And you go, oh, at least I don't have to do this for 12 more months. And then in 12 months, you go, oh, I don't want to do Christmas. Oh, it's Groundhog Day, blah, blah, blah. That's another friend of mine saying she'll call tonight. I let all these people know that I really need help. To tell my neighbour that I'm on a YouTube live, and the other friend of mine who texted me, the other friend texted me saying she'll call later. I'll get back to her. So I don't know if I disconnected you guys or what happened then, but that's good technology for me to learn, because I have reached out to these people because I am really broken. I'm really shattered. I'm really, I'm in a lot of anguish, and I just don't need to do it alone. God doesn't want me to do it alone anymore. And I'm creating the most amazing network in Northern. I am supposed to be in Northern. Everyone tells me I'm supposed to be in Northern. Everyone tells me, that, they're so grateful that God has brought me to Northern. Everyone, including myself, identifies that the lessons I'm learning that have surrendered me to God, how could I ever begrudge them? How could I ever begrudge anything that's happened that caused me to surrender to God? Of course I can't. Okay. And if you guys are in anything like me, your trauma and your pain is a gift, because through that is how we become children of God. That is how we do that, by free will, surrendering to God as our Heavenly Father. The thing about when we fall into those small moments of finding it all too hard and going, I'm too tired, I can't handle it, that's okay. We're infallible. We're just humans. And it's okay. So, God, I'm really tired right now. And in that, I'm going to leave it on this. In that, when I came home from that walk today and I realized I could barely walk along the river with the dogs today. Normally that walk gives me joy. Today I was just cathartically crying the whole time. I'm coming to Dean. I don't want to stress the dogs out, Like, I gave them some dinner and put them outside so they don't have to be part of this YouTube, because I just don't want them to see me hurting. I'm just sick of them seeing me cry. I don't want my dogs to see me sad. It really hurts them. Because I can tell it hurts them, because they come in and they snuggle into me and they're really concerned, and I just don't want them to be worried. When my neighbour comes over, the dogs will be less scared, because there'll be someone else and then they feel like their pack is safe, like, because it just helps them feel safe. You know, it helps them feel safer. And but yeah, everyone, this process of healing is layers. The spiral. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I got distracted when my friend texted me. The spiral might be once a year, and then as you do more healing, as you start to really become authentic with your heart and authentic with your being, the spirals get smaller, and you have more and more moments where you can feel the uncomfortable feelings, the challenging feelings, the feelings that you might call the feelings that we call shadow side. So the shadow side, the side of us that we don't want to know. A lot of people don't want to identify with it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to face it, and they'll do anything and everything to squash it. Like classic is alcohol. A lot of people will drink or take other things to try to block feelings, or watch a lot of TV, or a lot of people work really hard. And there's lots of reasons, lots of ways people. Sorry about that. I put oil on this the other day. Here's the fire, everyone. I put oil on this on the door, and it didn't last. Anyways, I just want to say that the spirals, as you get deeper and deeper into the healing, well, like what I've shared with you in the previous message, you get to a point where it's like a constant ache. Well, this is what Leo Dubov said, which she said it's like a 1 foot on angst, 1 foot on joy. So we're feeling the pain all the time, and we feel the joy all the time, and then poof, we get this this release, like, because there's a point where we identify the point that it gets released, it gets acknowledged and released, and it gets healed. Now, the bit that I don't understand is so if what I'm trying to work out is, yeah, we had that point of release and it's healed. What I don't understand is how it gets to the point of something that we thought was healed comes back at the same level, at that really intense level again. That's why I'm tired. That's what I'll be talking with my beautiful neighbour Anita about, because she's a Christian woman. Sorry, this is a really big heavy piece of wood. I wasn't able to cut it, but it's. Ouch! Sorry about that noise. Ouch! My neighbour should be here any second. Ow! Okay. So, anyways, got a few messages coming in. There's more to be. That's what this whole YouTube channel is about. That's why God wants me to do this channel. God asked me to show my angst. God wants me to show you my angst, because God wants me to show you that's nothing to be scared of. Like, it's through the process. That's why I get such joy, you see. That's why I have so much merriment. And not like I used to, though. It's just what I'm saying to these people. I want to have that skippy, but I have friends saying, come and dance again. Come back to Perth. Let's do more fun stuff. And I said, well, okay. So once a month, the dogs are old enough now. Now that my dogs are older, and I'm creating my little ones old enough now that I can leave them alone, but not when it's a freezing cold winter's night, you see. So I'll have to wait till it's not winter. But eventually I'm going to have to make them an outdoor winter area so that I can still leave them at winter at night. But anyways, dancing. People are trying to ask me to dance again. And I did. I had fun on Friday night. I had a great night at karaoke down the road. The Duke's Inn, just down the road from where I live. I did 3 songs and did heaps of dancing. I had a really beautiful friend come up from Perth, and that was fun. And a lot of those people there are people that I see on a regular basis because they're all local. So I'm thinking, this is once a month is okay, I guess, sort of. Not really, no. I don't know, we'll get there. dancing. I don't know. I just told that lady I'll call her back. She's a really good friend of mine, another Christian friend. So yeah, I'm going to finish off this YouTube because the people I've reached out to for support, they're all available now. So God bless, and just these layers, heartbreak to heartache to heartfulness, repeat times myriad of spiraling of layers like that. That is the journey of becoming a surrendered child of God and receiving the full blessings of a godly protected life. It's that surrender process. It's that getting out of ego, getting out of fear, not worrying about, remembering who's there for us, knowing who's there for us, not worrying about people's responses if we ask for help, showing our full vulnerability to those that we know really have our backs, like really care for us. And when I said that thing of I can't fall back, for the first time in my life, I have a community around me where I'm realizing I can. And one of these ladies, actually the one that just rung me just then, and I've got to ring back, she said to me, Nadina, do you ask for help as much as you need it? I said, no. I'll ask for help if it's desperate. Like when my dogs are starving, I asked for help. Well, it was a choice between adopting the dogs out because I couldn't feed them, or letting people know that I needed help to feed the dogs. I got so much help. There was two people that came up with the inane comments. One said get rid of the dogs, and someone else said foster out the male, like because he was up for sterilisation. And both those people, one of them I haven't met in real life yet, and the other one, they're both, you know what I mean? Like, yuck, what an attitude to not being able to feed dogs or to have to sterilise a dog to go get rid of the dogs. And I basically worked out, there's this thing called vet pay, everyone. There's a thing called vet pay. You fill out some paperwork, you get they pay the vet, you get the dog, you get the animals looked after, and then the vets get paid, and you pay off a certain amount per fortnight to this vet pay. So both my dogs are sterilised because through vet pay. So I worked that out because of asking questions. But why would I ever surrender my dog because I can't sterilise them? And why would I ever give a dog away just because, without even trying to get help, just because I can't feed them, or just because they're digging up the yard when they're pups? You know what I mean? It's amazing. But everyone else has been so beautiful and kind and loving, and they know my dogs and my family. They're my children. They're my little furry children. They were a huge commitment. They've been making my life very, very difficult, very hard, because I've had many, they've made my life much harder than it would have been if I didn't have the dogs. In that they are God's blessings to me. They are my grounding. We go for the walks along the river most days. They're God's gift to me. God's gift to me. Like the two dogs and the cute little fluffy little Ollie Bolly. So I have three fluffy children, and they're all, and I love them with my heart and my soul, and I'm committed to making work for them. They are my dependents. They need me to keep strong, and in God's grace, God will always help me be able to provide for them. For example, with the car not working properly, I know that's just God saying, your next pay, you must get that car serviced. You must get the car serviced, because I've been hearing these weird sounds for a long time now. So I've just got to make it happen now, So, so be it. Now I've finally got work, so yeehaw. And not just finally got work, like ongoing work. Ongoing, regular work. This is really exciting. and work that doesn't really crippleize my body, like work that's actually it's physically hard work, gardening, landscaping, but work that, you know, and my boss is a really good man. He's actually the one I got the wood from. And I know that if I had to, I could ask him to help me work out why the chainsaw won't work because he's that type of person, you know. So God's brought me an amazing salt of the earth, you know, guy that's good with tools and really good boss, really respects my injuries, my disabilities, trusting me to know my strength and respects my disabilities. He's a man of integrity, likes to do a good job. We did a crazy paving park the other day. NDIS paid a job, worked on this old man's house doing a crazy paving path. So, you know, that's just one job. We've got heaps of jobs. So he's going to take on more work because he's got me. He says he's been looking for a good worker for years. I don't necessarily want my own business, and God knows that I'm not ready to do my own paperwork. So here I am with a boss that wants to expand his business with me being his offsider. And this is perfect for me, not having to set up my own profit and loss statements. And so I was going to go down that track. And I had a lady that wanted to invest in me and set me up to set up my own business. And that was freaking me out about, I thought, my brain, I don't feel like my brain is in that headspace to do paperwork. Driving to work one day, driving to a cleaning job I had organised, saw this guy doing some work with his business ute and said, you know, with his magnetic advertising on his ute, and I just went over there and said, hey, do you need any workers? He goes, yes, I do actually. I said, okay, cool. Well, this is, you know, gave him a bit of a short spiel about my abilities and this and that, and that I was actually thinking about setting my own gardening business, and now we've worked together twice, well, 3 times consider it, as well as getting the wood yesterday, because we've got a big tray load of wood for him and a ute load of wood for me, and we work really well together. And he's really honest. He asks me heaps of questions like, how much commitment can I get from you? 2 years, 3 years, 10 years? I said, oh, can we start with 2, please? Because I really want to set up my therapy business. I said maximum 3, definitely not 10. Definitely not 10, because I want to have my therapy business up and running when I've got enough money to get everything in action. And how many days can you do? I said, I'd really like to do under 4. Like, if 3 would suit me better, just because when I work my body really hard, I'm quite achy and sore and crippled for the day after. Tell him the truth. He's like, yep, got it, no worries. And the other day when we were doing this job, my bloody knee gave out on me, which it does sometimes. And I just put my hand straight on to protect it. He goes, should I be alarmed? I said, no, I know exactly what to do. I know my limits. Well, I'm going to start wearing my knee brace more. But he trusted me. He believed me when I said, I know my limits. I know my limits. I'm not going to get injured on this job. But my knee does give out on me sometimes, especially going down hills, So he's really honourable with and the other day I had to mix up all these wheelbarrow loads of cement, and because I was just about to, you know, it's just my women's time was about to start. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm usually so much stronger, but a week before this time, a week before my ladies' time, I'm weaker. My body's a lot weaker, and my back's just started spasming. Could you do some of this shoveling? And he goes, no worries. So then I just gave myself a 4-minute break, a 3-minute break, and stretched my back, and then went back to the hard work. So I'm talking about God has provided me the best boss ever. And he's really happy with me as a worker. So there you go, guys. Things are gonna be fine. I'll get the car serviced. I'll be able to get the chainsaw serviced. I'll be able to get my glasses. I'll be able to eventually get my teeth fixed, because this denture is going to break any single second. It's been at the risk of breaking for years. I've got to let the dogs in. They were just barking. I think that's Anita at the gate. Lots of love. Yeah, God bless everyone. Trauma, healing. heartbreak to heartache to heartfulness, repeat. I think it's just, I think it's, we're going to talk about this more, everyone. Try not to be dismayed. Reach out for support and help from genuine people, authentic, genuine people who are prepared to do the healing work themselves. When I reached out to some people today, I only reached out to 5 people, and there were so many people there that have said, "Oh, I'm here for you, I'm here for you," and I did not reach out to them because I know they're not authentic enough with their own healing in their own heart. So I'm happy to be their friend and hang out with them and have conversations when I'm feeling strong, and I can be there for them to a degree, but I don't believe that they really, when I'm feeling this vulnerable, they can be there for me. So it's about, and that's no disrespect to them, that's just honoring their ability, skill set. And we've had this conversation, I've had it with those people as well. So it's not like, so basically, yeah, reach out to those that you know are authentic and honorable. Sometimes that can take a few years to develop. There's ways to ask the questions, there's ways to navigate, there's ways to, like, you know, make sure that you are reaching out to trusted people. I learnt the hard way by reaching out to the wrong people too often in the early days. So in the future, I'll give you guys some ideas of some questions and ways you can go about it, just to see when you are in a really vulnerable, heartbroken space, if they can really hold space for you, or if they'll just make it more painful for you. Because if you're in a heartbroken space and you're around people who can't get heartbreak, they'll try to shut it down, they'll try to make you get superficial, they'll try to make you shut your feelings down. They won't hold space for you. They'll actually be so uncomfortable with your heartbreak, they'll try to shut it down and get you to stop feeling it and move on to something simple like, "Oh, mate, let's watch a movie," or, "Oh, let's go have some drinks," or I've just come up with some stupid examples, or they might change the topic. But that delving into the depths of the wound that's coming up, that's where the healing happens. And when you do it with someone who's holding space, that is where it gets released, and that's where we then it's less subconsciously driving us. It becomes more conscious, and we're able to navigate with consciousness with that trauma, and then we're feeling the trauma at all times as well as feeling the joy, rather than the trauma just popping up and brutally taking over the driver's seat and causing us to do really terrible actions that are not us. It's like temporary possession, like it's the pain takes over and it's not being navigated, it's not being regulated, it's just sort of come out of nowhere. But when we actually really go into the traumas in a safe space, we start to know it's our friend and ally with it, and we start to integrate it into us as who we are, and becomes part of us, which is why it's one foot on the trauma, one foot on the angst, and one foot on the joy. And that's who we are, the yin and the yang. It's all of who we are. We embrace it. So we're feeling it, we're aware of it. It doesn't catch us by surprise and cause us to do subconscious damage and make us do and say things that are not even us. That was our pain doing that. It was like, yes, that is forgivable. When someone acts out of pain, yes, that is forgivable. However, we still need to become responsible and accountable for our traumas and our shadows, and embody them, use them to create us to be wise, calm. Don't know about calm. Wise, mindful, godly, present, accountable. Could go on with that. I'm going. Good night. Love you. I feel better from this YouTube. I was so upset. I hope some of this helps you all out, because this journey I've been on has been going on for a long time. That's part of the reason why I'm so tired. I just really thought by now that I wouldn't fall into such deep, that my heart wouldn't break like it does, and that I would be in a position where I could create equilibrium easier, even. What am I trying to say, everyone? Sorry, that's another tangent. I'm not going there right now. I really hope me sharing my vulnerability, because God, that's what God's asking me to do. I really trust that it helps you somehow, because what I'm getting affirmed all the time is it's this dastardly trauma recovery healing work that enables us to get the full rewards of God's destiny for us. And trust me, the pain is different for me now than it was before, because I'm being held by God. Like last year when I was in agony, I surrendered to God. That was when God kept me alive. Like God protected me from hypothermia and made sure I didn't die. It was like an intervention of the gods and angels to keep me alive. But I was SUICIDAL this time last year, and I did not want to be here. I was at high risk, and I will never be like that ever again. Like that will never happen. I can't. It doesn't matter how sad or depressed I get. I never go into that mindset, because I know God needs me to stay alive. I know God just needs me, like actually needs me to champion of God's word, God's army, because we are going to heal this world, everyone. With God's grace, we are going to get the evil out of this world, and peace is ours. Reward and peace is ours. It's even in the Bible. We are going to have that exquisite, euphoric, peaceful existence. That is God's promise. Okay. Love you. Keep well. So much more I could say, but we're leaving it at that. Okay, bye. God bless. Just this little button that doesn't want to turn off. Okay, there you go. See ya. God bless.